thought the capping of non-referendum bonding was necessary and believes that council members should not be compensated as members of no other board or commission are compensated in the city of Danbury. Mr. Al Robinson pointed out that Section 3-3 of the Charter provides only the council can appoint an assistant clerk. Mr. Warren Levy expressed concern about compliance with the requirements of the Charter and believes the council should have its own independent legal advisor for interpretations of the Charter, statutes, regulations, ordinances, and rules. He supports continued minority representation and the current size of 21 members for the council. It is not broken. Mr. Paul Rotella supports the current size of the council at 21 members. If the council were too small, there might be a problem with quorums, and he pointed out that there were certain issues that require a 2/3 majority. He was against term limits and in favor of a 2-year term. He also believed the system worked because Danbury has had good luck with the competency of its mayors. Margaret Mitchell supports the change that provides for the capital plan to be submitted to the council earlier. She was concerned about bonding, and she prefers the town meeting style of government. She pointed out that the budget books are not available to the public in Danbury, and she also stated the current size of the council would not work in practice were it not for the use of the ad hoc committee system. After that portion of the meeting, the council unanimously voted to approve the agenda for that night's meeting. The commission had a discussion about the current size of the council's 21 members and about the advantages of a lesser number of council members. No motion was made to make any change. The commission had a discussion with proposed changes to Charter Section 6-9 regarding the police department and unanimously voted to make those changes to Section 6-9. The commission discussed a review of items passed by vote at its earlier meetings and received a packet of copies of the approved changes to the Charter. The commission had a discussion about changes to the city clerk's position and reviewed several proposals on different ways to eliminate the office of city clerk and replace those duties with another position. There was review of a proposal from the mayor and there are proposals from Mr. Levy. The commission will discuss the issue of the city clerk's office on this agenda. The commission had a discussion about streamlining the city's organization, which is contained in basically Section 6 of the Charter. The commission had a brief discussion regarding the percentage of electors required on a petition to force a referendum. After that, we adjourn.
Okay. Any corrections? No notations to those minutes? It's been a whole year, but we finally have a typo in there where Peter spelled something wrong. Under Paul Ritello, the word two should have 2 O's and not 1, but what a great job you've been doing with the minutes. So the minutes stand as read. We'll now take comments from the public. Would anyone care to address us? Joel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, I believe there is an obscure item in the charter that does, if you want you're on the Charter Revision Commission, you're not allowed to leave town until the work is done.
Thank you very much.
But Huntsville is a nice town, so you're going to a good place. Only 2 quick items. Since I have been the only person from either the zoning or planning commission to testify before this hearing, I took a straw poll at the last planning commission. Simple question, unbiased, no intonation put into it. Do you favor combining the planning and zoning commissions? I couldn't back off fast enough from the residents of no. That was absolutely no. There were 3 of the commissioners there. The chairman wanted to come and testify tonight. I don't think he's going to be able to make it, but I just wanted to pass that along. It's just not just my voice in the wind here. I understand you might be reconsidering that, so I would ask you to stay on the course of, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. The last item I'd like to talk about is the initiative for a referendum. I am a big believer in referendum for most any reason, as a matter of fact. I think that people should always be able to bring something to a vote when they are either displeased or want some sort of action taken within their government. In a representative form of government, our representatives are supposed to do those things, but they don't always do what the populace wants, as we all know. So I would like to encourage you that if you're going to discuss this tonight, the amount of registered voters that need to go on a referendum. It needs to be something that's obtainable, either through a limited number of voter signatures on the petition, or an expanded amount of time at least in order to obtain those signatures. There are some things we would probably never satisfy by referendum. One of those would be budget, because under our law, if a budget is challenged, even if it were challenged under referendum, and if it failed, they voted against the budget, past time by now, mayor's budget becomes budget anyway. It would be just like what happened this year whenever the council failed to pass the budget. The mayor's budget prevailed. So I don't think that's the key issue. It's more things about going on in the city. But if people, for example, were really adamant about putting a cap on capital spending that doesn't come to referendum, they should be able to bring that to referendum and change that element of the charter if they so desire. But requiring 15% and 30 days to do, it's all but impossible to do. It's just not feasible in this town. Other than that, I just have to say thank you very much for all the work you put in. If anybody should be compensated, it should be these commissions, because I know from personal experience, we put in a lot more time than common council does. So, anyway, thank you.
Joe, thank you. Any questions?
I'm not proposing that we be compensated.
Yeah, any questions? Joan, did you have your hand? No. Okay. Would anyone else from the public care to?
Good evening. Warren Levy, 5 Pelham Drive, Danbury. I hope everybody is happy tonight. Nice weather, not wet. I just want to speak on the issue of the city clerk position. I think I mailed every one of the members the 2 proposals that we submitted from the Democratic caucus. The proposal that was submitted by the mayor weakens actually the legislative body, and what we wanted was a staff individual to assist the volunteer common council members. There's the 2 proposals that we submitted. One of them is actually the exact language that was submitted by the mayor's office, with the exception we replaced it with the common council. The other one is one that allows the common council to somewhat guide their own destiny and establish criteria for hiring a staff individual. And it doesn't really put so much weight on the commission itself. It allows the council to determine what they need in the way of assistance. So I support either one of those proposals, but certainly the council needs staff assistance, and that's the biggest thing about the whole proposal. On the other issues, I'm not totally familiar with all of them, but I understand this evening it was brought to my attention, there's one about you had previously eliminated the minority representation on the council. Did I? No? No. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Other than that, you're doing a great job, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions? We're good. Thank you. Would anyone else care to address this? Paul.
I'm going to go through several items tonight because I've got the changes proposed and already voted in from Vice Chairman King. To begin with, just speaking about the last meeting where the mayor, or Rick Gottschalk, presented for the mayor the proposed language for the city clerk, and then Councilman Levy and I have given our interpretation of the way that ought to be. I just want to explain why you got 2 different proposals. The one that you got from me, which simply substituted common council for mayor, and we spoke about this briefly a couple of weeks ago, where we feel that the council should be hiring its own staff, essentially. The reason that I gave you a verbatim copy of what was presented to you from Gottschalk is because that language has already been backwards vetted through state statute. So I know you're wrapping this up, and this is not one of those things where it's going to have to go back to Corporation Council for approval to make sure that this is something that's going to jive with the Connecticut state statutes, because the presumption is, since he already gave that to you with nearly identical language it already is, I am also comfortable with either one of them. But what I would not be comfortable with would be the mayor picking our staff. We really need to pick our own staff. Now, I've got some questions for you, and I don't know if this format allows you to answer them, but I'm going to shoot them off to you anyway. On Police Department 6-9, where we have the approval of entry-level candidates, this is a change to, or an addition, or it backtracks to 6-3. I'll read 6-3, when not otherwise provided. All heads and all officers of the foregoing departments, including departments created by the Common Council, and all police and fire officers shall be appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the Common Council. For Police Department 6-9, you've amended it by saying all successful entry-level candidates for the position of police officer shall be recommended for employment by the chief of police, and then appointed. Well, this is what you guys gave me. I'll just hand this to you. I've got 2 copies of it. I'm not saying that you voted in it. It was in your green book, yeah. And then after the chief has recommended the candidates, then it goes back to 6-3, which essentially says what I just read to you, that the mayor and the council are the ones who actually do that appointing. I don't think that that's necessary. The chief basically is making these recommendations anyway. I'm not sure that you can codify it because it conflicts with 6-3. He can't make those choices. The mayor and the council have to make these ultimate choices, so the language looks a little confusing to me. Since the mayor and the council has to do this, and we're already listening to him, the language is either redundant or at least it's going to be somewhat problematical.
Let's explain the problematical. Mayor?
If I understood the chief correctly, he needed that for when there wasn't room at the police commission, at the police academy. The police academy runs 16 weeks.
Yeah.
And if he needed to hire someone and appoint them, he needed to
I've got another one. You
needed
can
to be
hang on.
able to. Didn't he say something like that? Wasn't that what he said?
Department. See, I think we have.
He said when the academy started, if he wanted to offer someone the job and hire them for the job, and then wait 6 weeks and then send them to the academy, he needed that. I thought that's what he said.
Okay. Well, the language in here, and I don't know where you guys are going with your language. The language, all it says is that the candidate shall be recommended, not appointed, not hired, not vetted, just recommended by the police. And then it goes back to 6-3, which says that the mayor and the Common Council shall be the ones.
Well, it's recommended, and they're going to be appointed in accordance with 6-3.
In other words, the mayor and the council do the appointing.
That's correct.
Yes.
Right.
That's correct.
Right. And the chief, already the chief is doing his recommendations.
That's
so is the
correct.
fire chief.
Yes.
So I don't understand why you need to put that language in there, but I just
The
don't.
more important part of the language was, I believe, the last sentence.
Mr. Chairman, I think if I refer back to the mayor's letter, there was some confusion between the submission that he made and the chief of police. In a subsequent meeting with the mayor, he had indicated what he had put in his memo is really what he wanted, that we were in compliance with state statute.
Right.
And I thought that was the only change we were making.
That was the most substantive, that was the only substantive change.
Well,
that
maybe you could
language
remove
does.
the recommendation part, because it seems to indicate an implied conflict with 6-3, that's all. If he's recommending, you're not doing anything when you're recommending, but if it's more than that and important enough to be in the actual charter, I'm thinking what
Mr. Rotella, if you
recommendation
could
might
read
be.
this right here is what the mayor had submitted, and that's what,
I
in effect,
suggest
is that...
adding language, screen in accordance with the requirement. Yeah, that's fine, yeah.
But that is the last sentence. All such candidates shall be screened in accordance with the requirements of the
Right,
state.
I don't have a problem with the last sentence, it's the recommending by the chief. That was I don't really know what that means.
Now, as long as we're working through it, Paul, give us a couple seconds here.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I may be wrong. I thought that he needed a mechanism to offer someone a job. And then when they couldn't start the academy right away, there needed to be some sort of...
I think you're right about that, and what we will do is, Mr. Gottschalk called to tell us that he will not be here until 8 o'clock. So we will check with him.
I was going to refer these questions to Eric and tell him to jump in at any time. Obviously, he's not here, so
Yeah.
we'll have to muddle through. Okay.
Okay, we will, yes, Bob?
Point of view,
Yes.
Mr. Gottschalk's going to be here at 8. If Mr. Rotello is going to continue going through things previously, would it be better to defer that conversation until our legal counsel is here?
It's fine with me. Sure.
Do you know, I'm sorry to interrupt this colloquy, but we're really here to listen to Mr. Rotello and not engage in question and
Got it.
answering with him. And then we can get all out that he wants to tell us. And if we need to visit it, we'll revisit it. No offense to you.
None taken. I mean,
Okay.
it's you know.
Otherwise, we'll be here for a long time.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Keep,
Public speaking sessions. This would be the last sentence of section 3.4. This was according to your notes voted on the 28th of January. As you know, the Common Council allows a 30-minute public speaking period preceding every meeting. Actually, the meeting kind of starts. There's a few things that happen. Then there's a public speaking comment. It's been limited to 30 minutes since at least the last charter change. And there's been some debate, particularly back in February where we had a couple of hot button issues, that we should be able to allow an extended period of time should the need arise. There was some implication the charter already allows that through the chair, but we got a ruling from Corporation Counsel saying that it does not, and that 30 minutes is 30 minutes and that's that. So I guess a request went out to give the chair some flexibility to expand that, which is fine, but you've added something here that we've never had before, and that is remember the original language is that any resident or, I guess it was any resident and a taxpayer. There was some confusion with the and in there. Should it be an and or an or? And you changed it to an or, which is fine. But in any event, it was either a citizen who lived in Danbury or a property owner who owned property in Danbury. As you know, Margaret Mitchell is not an actual citizen of Danbury. Her domicile is in Colorado, but she speaks very often. She owns property in Danbury, that's fine. But now you've added the line, the council at each meeting shall reserve the initial 1/2 hour period for the expression of views and opinions by residents or taxpayers of the city or their legal representatives. And that's something that we've never done before. Keep in mind that a lawyer can speak at the council as long as he is or she a resident or property owner of Danbury. So if I was an attorney and someone wanted me to speak for them, I would be legally entitled to do so as long as I either own property, an office building in Danbury, or I lived here. I guess what you're saying with this is that out-of-town, unaffiliated attorneys or legal representatives, which could be, I'd have to defer again to Eric on that. I'm not exactly sure what a legal representative is, because you didn't say attorney, but I assume it could mean someone who's been granted the power of an attorney from out of town can speak to the council during that 30-minute period. I foresee a couple of problems with that. I foresee representatives from major organizations like the NRA or Planned Parenthood or the ACLU or whatever coming into Danbury, speaking for the half-hour period when, from my point of view, this 30 minutes of public comment really should be reserved for citizen activists. We are in the phone book. Any citizen of Danbury or out-of-towner can call me up or email me or write a letter. We're always available. But that period where you have a platform, I think if it's important enough to actually speak at these meetings, it should be important enough that the citizens themselves are the ones who are allowed to speak. I think that if we move into an area, an adversarial area before the meeting even starts, and we have these people come in with attorneys from Colorado or Texas or New York State, I think we're asking for trouble. So it looks like you voted on this already. I would ask you to revise that language and remove.
Good point. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gifts of $1,000 or less. It has been a privilege on the council for many, many years to accept donations. I would like to see that continue. You've changed that and you've taken it away from the council and given it exclusively to the mayor. Statement of cases. This is another thing that the council is very involved with, lawsuits. If there's been a problem, whether it's a property acquisition by eminent domain or a lawsuit, often we will go into executive session and discuss these settlement items with the city's own attorneys and attorneys that have been hired specifically for these cases. You have removed that from the council and given it exclusively to the administration. I don't know why you did that. I would like to see that removed. You voted that January 28th.
Okay. Paul, just so you understand, part of these were brought up in order to lessen the agenda that the council dealt with. If there's a $25 book donated to the library, the fact is it would take an act of the council to accept it, and that
It's such a great small town thing. It really
okay.
is. You know.
And the same thing with the settlement of things covered by insurance.
I don't think we do these once a quarter. And it allows the council to really keep an eye on the lawsuits in Danbury. I think that's extremely important for the 21 representatives to keep an eye on these things. The last time we had executive session, I think, was for the airport acquisition property, which was in February, March, and the time before that was last fall. So we've had one this year, and I believe one last year. And that's about right. We might have one or two. But these often are extremely important, and they can run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions. We're facing a continuing suit on an item that occurred 20 years ago that's been as yet unresolved, and if it goes the wrong way, it could cost in the millions, 10, 15 million. We hope that it doesn't, but it's something that the council has to revisit on a yearly basis to stay up to date with that, and I think it's important that we continue to do so.
There is a reporting requirement in that clause, though, you understand?
Right, but this is a voting requirement, and that's what we've always had.
Okay, next.
Okay, Councilman Levy brought this up, delete the words legislative body in Charter Section 2.3. This is under minority representation. If that didn't mean council, I'm not sure what it would mean. This is Charter Corrections Revised, and it is Section 2. And that was voted in
Give me the
225. I don't have a page number.
225, 2A.
That was that long list of things, Paul.
Yep.
The commission voted to recommend a revision to Charter Section 2-3 dealing with minority representation.
On page 5.
Yep.
See, I think that really does mean the Common Council. I think what you've done is you've removed minority representation from the council. Now, if you wanted to do that, I'll have an argument with you, but if you didn't want to do that, I think you ought to be aware of this, because it looks like you did, and I could be wrong on that.
I think we just removed it because it was covered in another section of the charter.
All right, that's fine. But you might want to check on that to make sure.
Actually, it is.
I'm sorry, Peter?
It is covered in another section of the
Okay.
charter.
That's fine.
Council.
And I think, guys, that's it.
Okay.
And let me thank you all for the work that you've put in on this job. I know it hasn't been easy. It's been complicated. The language can be conflicting at times, and I certainly appreciate, I can't speak for the council, but I kind of am. I think we all appreciate the work you've put into this. Finally, if you could discuss your schedule, the next meeting, I think, is your last one, and then you're going to a public hearing. Is that how it's going to work? And my presumption is you're not going to make the vote for November. I think that's correct.
Yes, that's correct.
You're not going to be in front of, right.
No, that's right.
It will
We're
not be
we're
before the
in any
vote.
schedule to
Exactly.
make the election.
Right.
the
So we're
presidential
looking at either next November or a referendum between.
That's correct.
Sometime
Yes.
next year, correct?
Yeah.
So it's off the agenda for November.
It's off,
It's off,
the ballot.
right, that's what I'm
Yeah, the
saying.
original timing was, we were hoping to finish by
Right.
December. We're going to come in a little quicker
Okay.
than that, but not in time for this election.
All right, thanks.
We don't think you guys would have the time to act on.
We've been trying to figure out how we could do this with public hearings and really quick ad hocs and everything else to get it on, and it just didn't look like it would give anybody enough time to go through the material.
At the outset-
It could be done, but it didn't seem to be
But
fair.
there were no emergencies at the outset of this. The intention was finish it by the end of this year, present it to the council early next year, it'll
Right,
have
that's fine.
plenty of time
That's
for
totally
'09, and we weren't trying to get in under the...
If we had to, we could, but it just doesn't seem like it's necessary, so we can go another 6 months or a year or 3 months. Remember, if we have a referendum, it's going to cost us like 20 grand, so
Yeah.
we might want to roll it into the next actual schedule.
We're not going another 6 months, Paul. but-
No, I don't mean you guys. No, I don't mean you guys. Once it's settled, we just got to get it to the voters and that's
No,
it.
we understand.
Okay, that's it for me. If anybody wants to ask me anything.
Okay, thank you. And Paul, if you're still here when
Sure.
Mr. Gottschalk gets in, we may engage him in this, just
Right.
so
Thanks a
that
lot.
we make sure we understand what we think we've done. Any other members would like to discuss? I'm going to hold your last one if I can.
Al Robinson, 182 Osborne Street. I want to speak on the city clerk position again. I looked at the mayor's proposal, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing here, in which the president, the mayor, whoever it is, the mayor is, can appoint or remove somebody who's supposed to be working for the legislative body or the common council. I don't see how it makes much sense that somebody in the executive branch of government can appointing people to work for the legislative branch of government. I think the common council should have say-so and what type of staff they need. People know what type of staff they need. They should be able to hire or the staff that they need. And second of all, I just want to read this editorial I found from the News Times from June 1987. It was regarding the Charter Revision Commission. And I'm going to read the portion here that is relevant to what I'm saying. If the Common Council members were serious about the need for staff, they would suggest eliminating the city clerk's job as an elected position. The clerk is supposed to be a functionary of the council, but as an elected official is traditionally loyal to the mayor. In the place of the city clerk, an administrative aide's position could be created that would be under civil service to ensure professionalism, but responsible to the council, not the mayor. And this was from 21 years ago, and we're still talking about this today. This is serious business here. And I think that the city clerk's position should be eliminated and put in its place a position that was under civil service. Not somebody that can be appointed by the mayor, but it's a civil service position. There are other similar positions here in the city of Danbury that's being done. Planning and zoning, I think Joanne Reed is the person down there. She does a similar job as a city clerk. I don't think we need to be paying off $48,000 to $50,000 for a position of city clerk where there's so many problems that, I wish I can get $48,000 to $50,000 to come in here, basically, in my opinion, a part-time basis and maybe do weddings on the side. So I just think you guys should just take that seriously, and I hope you're taking this situation seriously. Second of all, I think that it would be somewhat informative if you guys would, request that the majority and the minority leader of the Common Council come before you and talk about some issues that they have with the charter. I haven't seen Tom Soddy or Greg Seabury approach you guys yet and talk about issues that they have, and I think it'd be somewhat informative to hear from them. I know you heard from people on planning, some other elected officials, but the people on the Common Council, especially the minority leader, have raised concerns about things that have been troublesome in terms of the charter. I think it would be good to hear.
Hold on a minute, excuse me for interrupting you. Okay.
And I think since you are winding things up, I think it would be somewhat informative and educational for you guys to hear from, especially the minority leader, and listen to what he has to say, because I know he should have some things to say about this charter. So that's it. Thank you for everything you guys are doing. I know this is pretty rough, and I'm happy you guys are winding things up. I just want to give you a copy of this
Great.
for your records.
Thank you very much. Pass that down to our secretary.
Okay, I thought you wanted Lynn to be last.
No, that's fine. We'll take Lynn. No,
It's
Lynn,
okay.
that's,
I didn't realize you
you're
were
fine, Lynn.
Okay. I wanted to again bring up about the numbers of petition signers for a referendum. I personally have collected petitions, in Danbury, there's a lot of places that you are not allowed to stand to get collection of signatures. Most grocery stores won't allow you. I found all of mine at the city dump or at the recycle center. Because Mr. Galanti used to own it, I don't know that you'd be allowed to go there and collect signatures, but that's where you find city residents. Otherwise, you may get signatures on there that are not. 5% of the 30,000, I believe, that are registered voters is 1,500 signatures. 3% is 900. It is a massive number when you want to do something to get that many signatures. Ask anyone who wants to get on a ticket to even collect 25. It's awkward for them to do that. So trying to go down to 3%, I think, is a reasonable number to force an issue. And as was said earlier, it's not going to be for the budget, but it could be for some of the ordinances that pass that the public really is upset with. So I'm hoping you seriously consider that. If you do make the changes to the city clerk's position and make it a legislative office position or clerk or whatever you're calling them, I'd like you to see if there's any way, because it's no longer an elected office, that the office itself remains open the same hours that the city is open. I know you can't say anything to an elected official, but if it's a city that's appointing, I think the person needs to be there because that's where all the documentation for the city is. And every time you go to a council meeting, they say, we don't want to read this because all the members have copies, and copies are on file in the city clerk's office for the public to see. If they're not open, you can't see them. So I would like to see it maintained at the same level that the rest of City Hall is, so when the public comes in, they could see them. And one of the things that bothered me a long time ago when I was reading through this, the public improvement assessments. I'm really concerned where it says, and this is one of your already approved ones, 7-8, I believe it is. It says all costs of public works or improvements that confer special benefits on an identifiable group of residents or taxpayers of the city shall be borne by those properties that benefit from the projects. If you repave roads or you widen roads and it benefits any resident that lives on the road, are they going to be asked to pay for it? I know if you run a new sewer up someone's road, they have to pay. But this makes it sound like it could be for roads or any improvement made to your road. They might be able to pull this and say, we're going to charge the residents for all this stuff. And we can't afford what we're paying for today. So I wanted to bring it up because it bothered me since you all accepted it, and I keep forgetting to mention it. But I read back through everything that you were talking about, so I thought I'd bring it up today. 7-8, and it's 7148C2G in the charter, and you accepted it on 12808.
Yes, yep.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, I thank you too for all your work, and especially Diane, thank you. I know you did a lot of homework in the beginning. I wish you well in your new job, but I'm sorry you're taking Richie away from us at the senior center.
Questions for Mrs. Walker? Yes.
Hi, I'm Mary Teichold, 6 Shannon Ridge Road. I am on the Common Council. I know you've already covered these. I have been watching. I've been here a couple times, and I just wanted to say that I think the council number, initially I did think it could be lower. The more I listened to your deliberations and everything and other public comment, I have come to the conclusion that I really think 21 does work for us, and it works well. And someone had made the comment, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Well, we seem to it gives us a lot of occasion to speak. Different opinions coming to us. And I also wanted to discuss the term of the council, and I know that's also been discussed, and I think a 4-year term would be good, and I'll tell you why. Because a 4-year term, for us to run for election is very expensive. It's expensive on each one of the candidates. And if there was a 4-year term, we would afford more people the opportunity to run for these spaces on the council, which I think we should kind of do that. You could give people more time to save up the money to run. It's a venture, and also gives us a little more time to free us up, not to be campaigning, but to be working and working for our constituency instead of having to always be concerned with walking or this. It's quite difficult every 2 years to run. And then my final one is about, I guess, clerk of the council, as it may be being known. My main concern about that is just that we have a continuity for the council. Having it an elected position concerns me because we've already seen the council flip. From, you flip and you have brand new people. That's a concern. We need someone who knows the history. Very often things come before us that have a history. It'd be great to have someone who's been there year after year and can help a new council through those tribulations when the elections come up. And that was all I would like to say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the commissioners? Then, shall we move to the agenda? First item on the agenda is the commission shall discuss the position of city clerk. And if I could, I would bring your attention to two proposals that were mailed to you by members of the council and a proposal from the mayor's office. Any questions on any of that at this point from anybody?
Carlo, just on that, we had a little discussion towards the end of our last meeting, and I don't think we formalized it, but I know I'm of the opinion that having the current city clerk as it exists now in an elective office, I'm in favor of eliminating that the way it's formulated right now. Before we decide on what to build or replace it, I just think it would make more sense to just find out if we're all in agreement that it has to be changed, or we all believe that.
I thought we determined that last time, that it was a consensus. Was a consensus that it not be an elected position, is my recollection.
So if we have come to the conclusion as a commission that this is not an elected position,
we could vote on it.
Then the next question becomes, and we can vote on that and just eliminate the position, but the next question is, what do we make this position look like? And should we be making that determination? So I'll hear your discussions around that. And again, you've got two proposals in front of you. And if I can lead this a little bit, one thing we could...
Right, yeah, three.
I'm sorry, three proposals. I wasn't that good in math. We have three proposals.
That's a worrisome.
1 plus 2 is 2. We have three proposals in front of us. We do have a fourth position that we could take. We could simply eliminate the position and leave it up to the mayor and the legislative body to sort this out. And, they're the people that access this individual. I will tell you, in discussions with the mayor, and I hope I'm not going out of line as chairman, but in discussions with the mayor, he says the city clerk works for the mayor. That he is in her office all the time, she's in his office getting things on the agenda, making sure all the right handouts are put together and things. He feels that that is an administrative staff position, not per se a legislative staff position. We're in the position that we can either define it, maybe get it right or get it wrong, or we could simply eliminate the position and pass it to the mayor and the council to work out how they want to go about doing this without it being defined in the charter. So I would leave that as a fourth possible position.
So are you suggesting that what we could do is first take a vote whether it should be an elected position or not? And then secondly, we could take a vote that we simply eliminate the wording from the charter and let that be determined by the mayor and common council.
And assuming that's approved, then the council and the mayor would have to get together and determine how they're going to fund and staff that position or positions.
Because arguably, the mayor could have his own staff person, sort of the legislative liaison, if you want to call it that. And the council could hire their own staff person.
But
or
it doesn't have to be in the charter.
Right, yeah, correct. My point is, we're not talking about, just because we're eliminating one position doesn't mean it can't result and 2 bodies filling it, either in the charter or not. And again, I'm not suggesting it one way or the other, just
You know, I think-
looking at it as an option.
Would it be possible that the commission recommend in the cover letter that the position not be eliminated, but be filled in some other manner, other than a charter position? It doesn't have to be a charter position. It's an administrative position, correct, Paul? Is that your thought?
No, yeah, if we determine that it's not an elected position, then there's a void, a potential void, that either we can fill as part of the charter, or we can leave, I guess, what the chairman's saying is we can leave that to the legislative body in the mayor's office. But I was just making the observation that could be 2 different persons. If the mayor really thinks that is
Where I'm making a
the
comment.
mayoral staff position, so be it, he could hire his own.
Yeah.
And so too the legislative branch, the common council could do the same thing. Whether it should be part of the charter or not,
And then how would we force those 2 people to work together?
I don't even know.
That's their problem.
The 2 of them?
Yeah.
How would you do that?
Yeah.
Give it to them, let them worry about it.
Let
And
the
I'd
adult,
just like to say one other thing
Yes.
about the common council wants to hire their own staff. They want that person to be a civil service job, join a union. Ultimately, that person's boss is the mayor.
correct.
You're never going to get out of that person answering to the mayor.
Not
If they're a
necessarily.
city
It could
employee.
report to the president of the common council, Mary.
I don't think the language proposed by the Democratic caucus said that it would be a civil service position. I think that the mayor's...
And it doesn't have to be a civil
language said
service
that.
position.
I just don't know how you'd get around that person working in this building for the city of Danbury and not answering to the boss.
As a professional,
Not answering to the boss.
That
it
is,
would be problematic.
that question's been raised, and we've been told that would be,
Especially since the mayor presides over the common council meetings in addition.
yeah.
So,
It just seems awkward.
It's,
Well, perhaps we're going about this a little backwards. I mean, why don't we look at what the duties of the clerk are? I mean, what are we eliminate the city clerk as a charter position determined by the charter and elected. And there are certain duties, and they might be sort of minimal duties, and most of us, I think we agree, they're administrative duties. They have to do with somebody being responsible to make a publication, to distribute minutes, and keep records. I mean, these are like essential to the operation of a democracy. And those duties are going to exist as long as we are a democracy, and we need to assign those to somebody, or some office, if they're not going to be assigned to anybody. So, I don't know how to, I think that's what we should focus on. Where are those duties? Where's the best place for those duties to exist? I mean, who's going to be responsible? I think a recurring issue brought up by at least the people who've come to address us is they would like these records of the council, the minutes, the submissions to the council, to be accessible. And to me, that means, somebody like in the town clerk's office, someplace where you can go, where you know the office is going to be open, and you can get a handle and take a look at this stuff. So in a certain sense, yes, they're going to be city employees. In a certain sense, they're all going to fall under the purview of the mayor, but their immediate supervisor may not be in the mayor's office, so to speak.
if you want to read it, it's in section 3-3 of the charter. I would again raise the question, should we be the ones that are defining how this operates? My feeling is the simple solution is we eliminate it as an elected office. Now it does not have to exist as an elected office, and it'll be incumbent on the council and the mayor to hash out how it is they are going to manage this going forward. So we throw it back to the people who have to work with these people and let them work it out. It provides flexibility in that it is no longer in the charter. If we put something in the charter and 10 years from now it doesn't work, well, if it's in here, that position is just an outmoded position that still stays here. So I like the simplicity approach, which is we eliminate it as an elected position, and which means, I think, that we would probably eliminate all of section 3-3, which also then would say we would eliminate the council may at any time appoint an assistant clerk or clerks.
Right.
And then I'm assuming the council could take a vote to give
Pass an
themselves, pass an ordinance so that they would hire the type of staff that they would want or need. Joan, you were pointing to something?
Yeah, it's not only there, but in both of these, it tells you every section in the letter, every section where that would have to be eliminated.
Right.
I think we would still have to revise the section that deals with, at the expiration of the 2009 term, so that we could phase it out. There was some language in 2-2AD that we would need to keep in.
2-2, is that because of the timing issue? The city clerk shall serve a term of 2 years and shall have the powers and duties prescribed in 3-3.
And so we would have to add that upon expiration of the 2009 term of office, the legislative clerk shall cease to be an elective office, and therefore the position shall be filled in accordance with the provisions. So we'd have to revise that, but...
Because 3.3 wouldn't exist.
Well, I think
we would take that up with Mr. Gottschalk,
right,
obviously.
Exactly. How to handle.
Peter, through the chair.
Yes.
It's important, what you've said is important because the wheels of democracy have to still spin. Still have to, my point is, suppose we took the word out of, if you look at the first sentence of 3-3, you eliminate the first sentence, you eliminate city clerk, and you say, the city shall keep for public inspection copies of every proposed ordinance. Do you think we have to, in the charter, make sure that those duties are still, those responsibilities are still fulfilled?
I think so. I mean, it makes sense to me that there'd be a place, a designated office or a designated place to keep the records of the council and a designated office to be responsible for publication. I mean, any ordinance that the city passes requires publication and requires certain things. And somebody's got to be held responsible for that.
But isn't that by statute, that requirement?
No.
It's not by state statute?
Certain things are, but not all ordinances are by state statute. They're by requirements of city charter. Certain ones that have penalty are required by state statute.
The simplicity of the chairman's suggestion is, the only thing it doesn't address is that piece. Well, who is going to be responsible so that if a citizen wants to see the ordinances or any of them, who's going to be, if we left it out of the charter, if we left the duties in and didn't designate an office, would that fall by way to the mayor's office?
That would be open to interpretation, probably.
These probably would.
Then we're in the same situation we are now.
Well, I think it would be open. I think it would be open to an ordinance. So you'd look at that. Who'd pass an ordinance? Well, you'd need a majority of the council. It'd have to be signed or vetoed by the mayor.
So then the chairman's idea then would kick it.
So if I can just understand you, in effect, if we kept the language and eliminated the word clerk, the city shall keep for public inspection copies of proposed ordinances, so that we're still saying in 3.3 that the city is doing it, we're not specifying how the city's doing it, and it would require some ordinance on behalf of the council and the mayor in order to implement it.
Because, and I think we should probably put some open full-timers, But I got to tell you, it does beg the question what Commissioner Bizet says, to not have someone responsible, to not have an office responsible.
If you think about it, it's been suggested in discussion that this would be in the purview of, you could assign the corporation counsel's office to keep these records. I mean, that sort of makes a lot of sense. They're highly involved with the agenda of the city council and the records of the city council. Some other place that's open all the time that has records where in fact, our minutes are, is the town clerk's office as a receptacle of the records. That's the only way I look at that. I mean, somebody's got to be responsible for this.
But then the question is, if we don't put something in the charter, then it's just anybody's ball game as to who's in charge?
No, I believe that at that point, if there is nothing in the charter, at that point, it would have to be done by ordinance, and then you designate, if it's going to be done by ordinance, it's going to require a majority of the council and the mayor.
But then does that language go into the charter, or no?
No?
No, it would be
an ordinance.
Which means if it needs to be changed, the council can change it at a later date. So if our minutes are held by the town clerk?
Our minutes and our agendas and our records are filed with the town clerk, as are just about every other board and commission, other than the city council. No. The council is with the city.
And our minutes are held there by ordinance, not by charter.
No, our minutes are held there by the Freedom of Information law.
And wouldn't that then apply to the city council?
It probably would, because there's no other designation.
Right.
I mean, in our present case, the city clerk holds those records because it's designated as the receptacle of all those records by the city charter.
Right.
So
So
it'd probably be in the city, it'd be in the town clerk's office.
So you're suggesting the town clerk
That bothers me, so
be
probably.
responsible?
well, we're going to need to, we will need to confirm that, but again, the way we've worked is we've worked out what we think's the right idea. Mr. Gottschalk typically makes it legal and puts it in the proper language, and then comes back for us to pass it, to finally approve it. Any other questions or comments?
I was just looking at the description of the town clerk, and it says the town clerk shall have all the powers and...
2-7.
2-8.
I was so close.
Just get the whole thing memorized.
It's right here, page,
Prescribed by general statutes, this charter, and such other powers and duties as may be prescribed by the council. So the town clerk probably could do those duties, as far as making public notices and things like that.
Any other questions or comments?
My only other comment about that is I don't think there's any precedent for anybody from the town clerk's office being involved in preparing agendas or disseminating information or attending any board or commission meeting. I mean, other than their involvement with elections. That office doesn't have that purview. It's a great place to go to get information. I mean, they're very good at responding to the public. I mean, everybody knows where it is. They can go in there and you can get copies of just about anything. So it makes a lot of sense for that aspect of the job. It doesn't seem to make much sense to locate a person who's going to be responsible for printing or disseminating the agenda, or who's going to attend council meetings.
When Mrs. Natale was here, she talked about how much work was involved in putting agendas together and binding them and all the last-minute things that need to go in. There is no question there is a requirement for a position or more that simply puts together the agenda and keeps track of it for the council. The question is, should we as a commission determine who that is and to whom they report, or do we simply pull it out because we think it shouldn't be an elected position, and then let the legislative body and the mayor work out who is responsible for them, who hires them, and to whom they report? Shall we hold this off until Mr. Gottschalk gets here to ask him those questions about FOI and those issues?
We can ask him those questions. I mean, he's the legal advisor of our commission. But I think this, I mean, in our process, whatever we decide, it's going to go before the council anyway, and they're going to have to go up and down on this provision as well. So this isn't going to be the first time this little debate is going to be had.
Okay.
No matter what we decide.
Peter, you brought up a point about this falling under the purview of the corporate counsel's office. To me, that makes a lot of sense, since they do supply legal advice to the council, albeit some folks would like to see, at a different level. But one of the points that keeps coming out is the independence of this person. I've always felt that would be a good place to put it, because it would provide some independence as opposed to reporting directly to the mayor or to the common council. I understand both sides have suggested that that's not the proper place for it. Do you have an opinion about that?
Do I have an opinion about that?
You brought up about legal counsel.
I mean,
What the responsibility
I
or the
think
duties
that, I can only think of two, if we eliminate the city clerk's office as in terms of existing places where that person could be lodged, in my mind, would be either the town clerk's office or the corporation counsel's office. I mean, I don't think I have a problem. I mean, if the corporation counsel is going to have an additional person working there whose sole duty is to take care of council
these
business,
responsibilities.
I don't personally have a problem with that.
I have a question.
Paul?
I've always liked proposal number 1 since I've read it, because it gives, which is the common council shall choose, will appoint its own legislative staff, whether professionals, etc. Is there anything that prevents the common council from doing this? Because it's not in the charter, does that mean they can't do it anyways? I mean, why couldn't they just, by ordinance, go out and do this? Hire a staff. Couldn't they do that?
Well, you have 6-3, which gives the power of appointment to the mayor. And that's the difference when it comes to assistant city clerks. That's the only position appointed by the common council. And so if you want to just leave things as they are, then an ordinance is going to butt up against 6-3.
All heads and all officers.
Page 14.
I see. Okay.
So all employees of the city, except those appointed by the common council pursuant to section 3-3, shall be appointed by the mayor. That's fixable. Thank you for coming, Mr. Gottschalk. We have some questions for
I
you.
apologize for double booking.
We have learned why you're so vital to this organization since you haven't been here for about an hour. If I could bring you up to speed, we were talking about the office of the city clerk. We have a consensus that it should not be an elected position. And please, if I'm misspeaking, let me know that. We have 3 proposals in front of us, 1 by the mayor and 2 by members of the common council, and a 4th proposal from the chairman who says, why don't we just eliminate section 3-3 and let the mayor and the common council work out how they would staff this position. And I think we got to the point that Paul kind of got us to, which is, and Peter, where they said, you know what, there's a lot of duties listed in 3-3. Including public inspection of records and things like that. If we were to do the simple thing and eliminate 3-3, does FOI require the public inspection of records and things like that? Where do the duties in 3-3 then fall if we were to simply eliminate it?
Well, the Freedom of Information Act clearly gives the public the right to inspect and copy public records and to attend public meetings. So that function, by whomever it's performed, is going to be required. You know, it's a necessary component of the business we do.
So currently the town clerk does much of that.
Yes.
The city clerk, because of the charter, does it for the council.
Right. You know, publication of notices of hearing, publication of ordinances, you know, those are responsibilities that could be assigned to somebody.
Somewhere else. But the major work of the city clerk's office was putting together the agendas, which I think is a significant time commitment.
Yes.
So that if we eliminated this position, someone still has to do that.
Without a doubt.
Okay. And according to this charter, only the mayor can appoint employees. So does that mean without some other change, the council couldn't possibly hire their own person? Or if they passed an ordinance and the mayor agreed to it, could they hire someone to be the staff person?
My sense is the possibility would exist that such an ordinance would contradict the provisions of 6.3. So unless you're comfortable with the mayor appointing all positions, including assistant city clerks, I think you need something.
Say that again, please.
Unless you're comfortable with the mayor appointing an assistant city clerk, you have to do something, because that's the default position in 6.3.
Yeah.